Hey guys, it's Becky from Simply Intentional Life, and I want to talk to you really quick about real estate. So I've been trying to post some real estate stuff every Friday on YouTube, and I'm going to continue to do so, just give you little tips that we've learned. And last week I went over our real estate, how we use real estate to grow wealth and how we use it to not accumulate a bunch of debt because we don't really want debt. So last week you would find that our real estate update as far as how we use real estate to build wealth in our strategy. So this week I'm going to talk to you about just a couple of ways you can find good deals. And this is going to be different in every market. We live in Ohio and our market is really good. We can actually buy houses for really reasonable prices. If you're in the San Francisco area, that's way different. So I can speak for our market pretty much and our market only. But if you listen to podcasts, one of my favorites is Bigger Pockets, and they have awesome podcasts. The guys are really cool that I listen to, and they give really great and useful information. And some of the ways that I've heard of other people buying in different markets is exactly what I'm going to be talking about today. So it may just give you a little bit of insight. But the most popular thing that we do, or I guess the most thing that we do, the thing we do most often in buying real estate is we buy foreclosures. So basically it means that the person that had bought the property, they, for whatever reason, something happened, they weren't able to keep the house and the bank buys the property back. That's most commonly what we've done. We've actually bought two houses that were on the market for a long period of time, over 6 months, and then we actually go in, we offer like a lower value price just to see what happens. And if they say no, great, we kind of go up to what we feel comfortable offering. And if it doesn't meet where we want to meet or we can't meet in the middle, we just don't go for it. No big deal. Foreclosures in this area, I will speak for that really quick, are going for usually over asking price because our market's becoming more saturated with real estate investors. Not that that's a bad thing. We could definitely understand because they're really great deals. But the foreclosures, sometimes you have a little bit of wiggle room and they're usually priced well below market value. So the other thing you need to realize though with buying a foreclosed property is that there will be work that you need to put into it. A lot of times it's just cosmetic, but I would say in most cases you're going to find that there's a considerable amount of work that you need to put into those types of properties. And again, that's not a bad thing. What I would recommend doing, even if you're like a new investor, what I would recommend doing is going and pricing things in your area. So for example, price the cost of tile, of carpet, of any type of flooring that you would want to use. Price it out and just see how much it's going to cost you. Price out what a new hot water tank would be, what a furnace would be, an air conditioning unit. Price all those things out, that way you have an idea of what they're going to cost you. And that will help you understand when you're going in to evaluate a property, how much work you're going to have to put in and how much the cost will be. If you're not sure, do you have a friend that might be a contractor, a real estate investor, or somebody that's really good on working at houses? Ask them to come with you. Ask them to come with you and look at the property and give you an idea in their head of how much it's going to cost. We still a lot of times will have our contractors come to look at properties with us because we want to get like a pretty good estimate of what the labor cost will be, and the maintenance costs for what we want to get the house to look like. So that's not a bad way to go. If you're new into this, you can ask a real estate investor, a friend, or a contractor friend just to kind of come with you. That's totally cool, and a lot of people will do that. So that's a really great like little tip to, if you're looking at your first investment. So, way number one for looking at investment properties to find a good deal, foreclosed properties. So that's what we do. Number two, which I kind of briefly mentioned, was if you find a house that's been on the market for greater than 6 months, you have wiggle room. So you can certainly go in and ask for a lower number. Just to give you an example, and I mentioned this in the last YouTube video, our first property was for sale, was listed for around $42,000. We had kind of like an inside scoop that they were going to actually take like $32,000. So we went in and we had basically a cash offer between a 401k loan that we took out and the cash we had in the bank. We had about $27,500. We offered that and they accepted. We figured that they were going to go ahead and go up to $32,000. We would meet in the middle around $31,000, but they took our cash offer. So don't think for a second that you have to offer even close to what that listing price is, because you don't. The second house, the house we just bought last year, was same thing. It was listed for in the 60s. I believe it was listed for 62,000. We knew the estimate on the house, like the Zillow, the Zestimate was around 100,000. But we went in and we offered cash at 43,000 and they took it. So don't, again, for a second, think that you can't have wiggle room and you can't offer less than what you think even. Like, I thought we were gonna get it in the 50s, honestly. But it doesn't matter. You still have the option to offer significantly less than what you think. So those are two ways. So foreclosure, you can do, if the house has been on the market for quite some time, you can offer less. And then tip number 3 is a tax foreclosure auction. These are a little risky, and I'm going to tell you why. So tax foreclosure auction, basically the people that have the house for whatever reason, they weren't able to pay their taxes on the house. So they actually, there's my little helper back there. So they actually had the house, they sometimes will be living in them, but their house then goes up on the market, so it goes into auction, usually at like a sheriff's sale or like a sheriff's auction. This is usually done at the courthouse, and this is actually how we bought one of our most recent properties we're going to be using as our first flip. And I have a video on that, so if you want to see it on YouTube, there's a video posted for our first flip property. But we bought that house for a little over $10,000, and that's crazy that you can buy a house for $10,000. We did. But keep this in mind, tax foreclosure auctions are a little more risky, and here's why. You can't even step foot into the property most of the time when you're buying at a tax foreclosure auction. You can't walk into it, you don't know what's wrong with it, you don't know if there's cosmetic, if you need a new air conditioning. You can briefly kind of look at the exterior of the property to see if you need a new roof, new siding, if the garage, if they have one, if it's intact, if you need a new garage door. But anything within the property itself, you have no idea what needs fixed. So you don't know if you're gonna need new flooring, drywall, you don't know what you'll need. So that's a little bit on the scarier side. The reason we decided to go ahead and buy a tax foreclosure, I hesitate a little bit because it wasn't in the general area that we typically buy, but we thought it was a good deal for where it is. So, and we looked at all of the numbers. So we, figured in the cost of looking at flooring. Our whole cosmetic work generally will cost us around $10,000. So if it only needed cosmetic work, we figured around $10,000 would be a good number for us to sit at. And we figured, adding just maybe $5,000 more for the cost of air conditioning unit and the cost of like a new furnace if we needed it. And we had a little bit of wiggle room. We think, honestly, if the house is fixed up, and we asked our realtor to come assess it also, that we could sell the house for around $50,000, and that's our goal. So we have a goal number we're going in at, we have a budget for it, and if those numbers work, then when we can make a profit, we go ahead and put an offer in. If they don't, we don't even touch it. So, and it just depends on the area, on whether or not we think it's gonna be worth it or not for us to do it. So that would be the only stipulation I have. Also keep in mind that if you have people in the house for a tax foreclosure auction, you have to get them out some way unless you're planning on renting the house to them. So you also factor in the cost of a lawyer. So factor in the cost of an attorney because you might need one. So maybe, several $100s, maybe up to $1,000 for you to evict the person that's living in the home. For us, we didn't know this at the time, but nobody was living there. They hadn't been living there for over a year from what the neighbors told us. We had no idea, but we were instantly able to have access to the house and start working on it. But it doesn't always happen like that. So that's why I'm telling you to be very cautious with tax foreclosure, especially if you're new into real estate investing. Be very careful. Once you've been doing it for a little while, or if you're going to be partnering with somebody that's been doing it for a while, then it may be a little bit more worth it, but just be careful. So, but I'm telling you about it because you can find some really great deals. So that's the reason I'm bringing it up. So, so foreclosures, look at houses that have been on the market for a while, and then the tax foreclosure auction. So those are the 3 big ways that we've been able to score some really good deals in Ohio. So, those are the 3 tips I'm going to give you today. So just kind of like a quick video. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I have to change my email still, so it's still Becky@frametofreedom.com. But yeah, please feel free to email me. We love talking about real estate, and if we can help you in any way, we certainly will. So have a great day.